Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to teach you soliloquy number 4 of Hamlet, and this soliloquy is in Act 3 Scene 1. This soliloquy number 4 is in Act 3 Scene 1. So before that soliloquy in Act 2, the most important events are, for example, Claudius is very scared about Hamlet's behavior, and to find out the reason of his behavior, he hired two of his fellows, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, to spy on Prince Hamlet and report back to him. Uh, and he want to know every movement, every move, every step of Hamlet because he is very scared uh, of his behavior, of his madness. And secondly, the character of Polonius is also revealed, that he is a spy of Claudius, and he is even not very faithful to Claudius also. He is actually slave of his own desires, slave of his own motive. So he is helping Claudius for his goals, to get his own benefit. On the other hand, Hamlet is also planning to expose the reality of Claudius. So he planned to perform a play that is titled with The Murder of Gonzago. He want to he want to perform the actual event, as Ghost has revealed the truth of his father's death. So in that play, The Murder of Gonzago, Hamlet is going to play all the truth of Claudius in front of audience, and he has planned it after getting the impression of the players who had performed on the speech of Hecuba. So Hamlet is very impressed with the performance of that player, and he is planning to take his help in performing the truth of Claudius. And in the last, again, Hamlet has one fear: if the ghost is lying to mislead him, and as he's thinking that the ghost may be or could be a devil in a very pleasing shape, that he thinks that the ghost is in his father's shape. So he's thinking that maybe that ghost would be a devil, and he is misleading him. So mm, in Act 2, in by the end of Act 2, Hamlet is looking forward for some proofs, for some sort of assurance that what is the reality of his father's death. So let's discuss the soliloquy uh, from the next slides. Let's start with the textual lines. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind of suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing and them to die, to sleep no more, and by asleep to say we end. Okay, let's start uh, its analysis. First line, to be or not to be. This is the most recognized, most famous. quote of Shakespeare in all of his work. This line also reveals the theme of procrastination and also the hamartia of Hamlet. He's saying that to be or not to be, that is the question. That Hamlet is very confused between the two extreme decisions of his life. To be means to take the revenge or not to be, or to that he is negating and he is thinking that the devil or the ghost is a devil but not, and that ghost is not telling him the truth. So he is saying that to be or not to be, that is the question. The question means a doubtful condition, an enigma to solve. So here Hamlet is puzzled. He is confused between the two extremes, to be or not to be. For him, this is an enigma that is based on his life and death. He says whether 'tis nobler in the mind of suffer. He's saying that a noble mind is thinking about doing or not doing, about taking that step, taking revenge or not taking the revenge. So he's in the in the next line, he's saying that the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. The slings are the small catapult. Catapult is like the fork-like stick with elastic rubber. And for your ease, students, I'll tell you that this is a kind of toy जिसे हम गुलेल कहते हैं. ठीक है. Here he's saying that the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. He is relating himself that he is weaponed with revenge. He is weaponed with revenge, but here he is giving you examples of that catapult and the arrows of outrageous fortune, that it is that he is relating these lines with the fortune, with the fate, like arrows are that the strokes of luck, as you use catapult to take uh, a that he want to hit his target, he want to take a target and he want to hit that target with his arrows and with the small catapult. So he is relating that catapult and his arrows of target with the fortune, that he has power but he is waiting for the good time. He is feeling himself helpless in the world, having power but he is not doing anything. He is not taking any step practically because he is waiting for the good time. So this also shows that Hamlet is puzzled, he is confused whether he should believe on that ghost or not. So his life is full of suffering, as he says that, or to take arm against a sea of trouble. A sea of trouble, here, sea is the symbol of his life and troubles mean the suffering. So his life is full of suffering, and here he is saying that by opposing anthem to die or sleep, that he want to take uh, that suffering, he want to take that suffering as the as his life's trouble, as his life's misfortune. So he's saying that he is helpless in that sea of troubles, and by opposing and them or to die or sleep. He says that he can only oppose that sea of trouble by dying or by sleeping. Uh, you can say that sleep or that death is something that leads him towards uh, a kind of freedom where he can escape from all these sufferings, from all these issues of his life. As he says that being alive or being dead is the same, but he is he is uh, he is in the pathetic situation that he is feeling himself on the mercy of fortune. So death or sleep is a kind of relief, is a kind of escape for Hamlet. He says that no more and by asleep to say we end. Here he is generalizing his statement that we end means this is the end of whole humanity. By sleeping, they get relief, they can get escape from the present pathetic condition. Overall, in all these lines, we can say that Hamlet is very confused, he is very puzzled. Uh, First, on his decision about to be or not to be, about taking the revenge from Claudius, and secondly, he is considering himself on the mercy of fortune that maybe God will help him in getting the revenge from Claudius, and he is uh, considering, he is realizing his pathetic condition as if he is mm, in the mid of the sea of trouble, that he is feeling helplessness, and the only way to get rid of these sufferings, he has the only option is to die or to sleep. The textual lines are: the hard ache and the thousand natural shocks, that flesh is here too. 'Tis a consummation devotedly to be wished, to die, to sleep. Here Hamlet has used metaphoric language to describe his inner feeling. He says that his physical strength is not enough to bear these kind of shocks. Very oftenly, Hamlet has used the word heartache. It means that he has a very weak heart that is unable to bear such kind of reality, such kind of stark reality based on the murder of his father. So he's saying that he is very weak to bear such kind of shocks, and his flesh is very weak. That flesh is here too means that his flesh is very weak uh, to bear such kind of shock that his predecessors has have given him. So he's saying that he has been given a, a shock by the revelation of that ghost. So he's burdenized, he's feeling burdenized with the task of ghost. So here Hamlet wishes if he was dead, and he'll no longer here to suffer through this serious issue of his life. So he wished to be die or to sleep. Devotion is a word that is used that to refer his condition, that how much he is eager to do that, how much he is eager to sleep or to die, because he want escape, he don't want to bear this reality, and he is very much, he's feeling himself very weak. Here, the textual lines are connected with the previous lines because here Hamlet is again discussing the idea of sleeping, idea of escaping actually. So the textual lines are: to sleep, perchance, to dream, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. Here, Hamlet is again discussing the idea of sleep because uh, he want to escape the present situation, but that sleep is again based on chance, as he says, perchance to dream, that we do not have any control on our dreams. So, what dream may come in that sleep in which we have shuffled off all the fuss and bothers of life? The sleep of death, what dream may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil? Coil, here Hamlet uses the word coil, which is an Elizabethan word for fuss. So he is saying that in our dream we have shuffled off all the fuss and bothers of life. Like in our dream, we are again seeing or watching all the things that are in our mind. So he is saying that this is again on chance, this is again on fortune, on my good luck. If I'm not going to see this present situation in my dream. And in next line he says that must give us pause, there's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. Calamity is the is a event or a thing that has sudden damage. So he's saying that must give us pause, that he's saying to himself or he's saying uh, to the good luck, to the fortune, that please give me a pause, please give me a sigh of relief, a pause, a break between uh, this present situation. I want to get rid of this present situation um, through my sleep, that he want escape. And there's the respect that make calamity of so long life. He's also considering the significance of life, that this life is very significant, is very important. But on the other hand, he's also admiring the idea of sleep and idea of death. In this slide, the textual lines are: for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his coitus make. Here Hamlet is not discussing his internal feeling, but he is generalizing the idea of suffering for the whole human life, for the whole humanity. For example, as he says, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time? That is there any person in the world that who is who is not having any kind of grief in his life, any kind of suffering in his life? He says that everyone has to bear the whips and scorns of time. Time here is referred to fate. That there is up and down in his life. So everyone has to bear the whips and scorns of time, the sufferings, uh, and the and troubles. Next line he says, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely. Contumely means insolent, insulting language or insulting treatment. He says that everyone has to bear the wrong behavior of others, the wrong behavior of the mighty one, the powerful one, and the proudness. If a person is proud, then he behave very badly towards other people. So he's saying that everyone has to bear the wrong attitude of proud people, and he says that the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, that everyone is facing in this universe, the pangs, the pains of their um, unaccomplished love, and the laws delay means the injustices. So in the next line, he's saying that the insolence of office and the spurns. Insolence means rude behavior. So he's saying that every person who is in office, in authority, and has some kind of power, then his behavior is insolence to other. And spurns mean reject with disdain. That the officer who is insolence has also the behavior that is based on spurns, that he reject every person with disdain. He says that patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might his quietus make. Quietus is the legal word meaning a final definite end of an argument. That the patient means the person who is tolerating all these injustices. He says that a person who is tolerating, who is suffering from all these injustices, has to be quiet to all these arguments, to all these insults. In this slide, the textual lines are, with a bare bodkin, who would further bear to grunt and sweat under a very life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller return, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have. Here, Hamlet is using very metaphoric language, and if you have noticed the word we, that before that Hamlet is saying whatever he's saying from his inward, uh, from saying from his bottom of heart, but here he is generalizing the idea, and he is comparing his own suffering, his own troubles with all humanity, because he is still unable to take revenge from Claudius. So he is considering himself suppressor, and he is considering Claudius the oppressor person and a person who has power. So he is considering himself as him. He is considering Claudius an officer who is so insolent. So let's move to the analysis. He says that with a bare bodkin, bodkin is the thick needle, and it is bare. He's saying that every person who is in authority, every person who is the oppressor one, a person who is insolent to the common people, towards common people, he says that that person is like the bare bodkin who is always ready to plunge uh, the common people. And he says that who would further bear, that he gave a lot of uh, suffering to the common people, and they have to bear that suffering. And in the next line, to grunt and sweat under a weary life, and that suppressor person, that troubled person, that common person is uh, is going to face all this trouble with great sweat. And to grunt is basically a word that refers to the low voice of pig, and he's saying that common people are grunting, are very much weird, very much troubled about that weary life. And this also refers to the futility of life, that people are tired from the futility of life. Here, grunt word is related with the low voice of pig, and this term is also uh, called the caricature, where the author make the common people, make the person related with animal. So next lines, but that the dread of something after death. Here again he is saying that the death is something that can give us relief from the dreadful life, from the very futility of life, from the very life. And he says that the undiscovered country from whose born, the undiscovered country is the country that has a boundary, and no travel return puzzle the wheel, and there is no traveler, no passenger who can return from that undiscovered country. Undiscovered country means that people have uh, no idea about its boundary, about its geography. And here we can also say that Hamlet is now letting his imaginations wander on the subject of voyage, of discovery, and exploratory expeditions. He's saying that the country which has undiscovered boundary can make the passengers, can make the travelers so puzzled that country's geography is like enigma, that nobody can discover the ways, the paths towards their towards the towards their destination. And he's saying that dying is also like that, that if a person dies, he never knows about its destination. And dying is like crossing the border between known and unknown geography. So he is like who is lost in that unmapped place from which one would never return. Okay, students, the textual lines of this slide are, then fly to others that we know not of. Thus, conscience does make coward of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sickled o'er with the pale cast of thought and enterprises of great width and movement. Before analyzing these lines, I want to tell you that the second line is the core of the play. Thus, conscience does make coward of us all. Here, the universal idea of death is prevailing. This is very important lines. It also refers to the religious dimension, that it is a sin to take one's life. So, with that added dimension, the fear of unknown after death is also intensified. The conscience, the conscience of one person that make that make him coward. How that that conscience that tells him about the good and evil. So here Hamlet says, then fly to other that we know not of. He's saying that I want to fly to the other end of life, the eternal life. I want to fly at that point, but we know not of. But I'm not aware of the result of of that place, and thus means here he's decided that thus conscience does make coward of us all, that the idea of death is making him scared because of the sins, because of the unknown destination of that life. And thus the native view of resolution is sickled ere the pale cost of thought, that this is the conscience who is continuously bucking him to take the revenge. But this is also the conscience that gives him the idea maybe that ghost is um, not telling him the truth about the death of his father. So the conscience is treating him on both sides, and he is afraid of the results. So he is not taking the revenge from Claudius, and he is not taking any step until he gets some proofs. And he is saying that he want to get rid of these thoughts with the sickle. Sickle is basically a tool that farmers use uh, to plant. Uh, so here he want to use that tool to get rid of these kind of thoughts and enterprises of great width and movement. Width is the essence of the thing. So and enterprises is something, somehow it is related with business or a deal. So he's saying that he want to get rid of these kind of thoughts, and this is a great business, a great movement. If he will get rid of these kind of thoughts of taking revenge, and he want to sort out all his problems. In the end of Soliloquy, he says, with this regard, their current turn away and lose the name of action soft, the fair Ophelia nymph in thy orison. Be all my sins remembered. Um, to analyze these lines, uh, I want to say that the big issue in Hamlet's soliloquy is the argument going on in his head between deciding to live on, in a word he finds cruel, or deciding to commit suicide to ease the heartache and pain that he had tried to endure. Actually, he claims that life is not worth living. So, in these lines, he's again referring to his sins, and he's saying, and he's accepting his delay, he's accepting of being his soft, and he is fed up from the current situation, from the current scenario, that he's unable to do anything. He's feeling himself helpless. So, in the end, by using a mythological spirit of nature, that he imagined Ophelia, and he is relating Nymph with Ophelia, and he's saying that in thy orison means in your prayer, in your wishes, be all my sins remembered. That he is accepting that he has a sort of evil plan, not evil, not bad in a sense, but he is a very much a sensitive person who is very keen to know, keen to do about good and evil. And in the whole scenario, uh, he's discussing, he is confused about good and evil. Although he want to take revenge, but he don't want to kill any person. That is why he is delaying his revenge. He considers suicide a crime, and he consider um, he consider if he is believing in ghost words that he is speaking and he is telling him truth, then maybe his decision would be different from now, because here he is confused in the words of ghost, and he is confused in taking revenge, because he there is a good spirit in Hamlet that he wants some proof, then he'll take revenge from Claudius. That is why he is considering his bad intention as a sin, and he's saying that remember him in the prayers, and he want to remember all his sin, uh, so that he can, and he's taking all his uh, taking all the situation on his conscience. He's saying that uh, maybe it is a sin to think bad about Claudius. And in previous soliloquy, he's saying that maybe Claudius is a pure person. Maybe that ghost is a devil, and that devil is misleading me. So there is a confusion in the mind of Hamlet, and that confusion is revealed through these soliloquies. I hope you will understand this soliloquy, and please prepare your notes